Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Well, we are excited today. We have Kyle Baker. Look at that. I did it right. Kyle Baker with FC Tucker. And we're really excited to have you, Kyle. Your background is phenomenal. I cannot wait to hear your stories because you got to have some fantastic stories. Welcome to the show. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me today. It's an honor.
You're welcome. And we'd love to hear about your background because that's what I couldn't wait because of that. So could you give us, where you grew up, what you've done in the past, how you ended up getting into real estate? Just give us a, real good understanding of who you are.
Well, like you said, my name's Kyle. I'm originally from Marion, Indiana, so not too far north of here. I grew up there until high school. My mom remarried, and my stepdad at the time was in the Navy, stationed at Great Lakes. So we moved to Illinois. I went to a suburb just outside of Chicago, went there for 3 years of high school, and then my senior year, we moved back to Indiana, so I graduated from Marion. Shortly after that, I joined the Navy. I did that for a little bit. And then fast forward several years, I ended up finding my way down to South Carolina. I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, which is where I eventually met my wife. And while I was there, I kind of did a little bit of everything. Management, I managed a CVS. I did some managing of personal training in gyms and things of that sort. I ran into a guy. This is kind of where the interesting part gets here. I ran into a guy, and he asked me, he goes, what do you think about if I give you a job? I'm like, well, I have a job. I'm like, I'm okay. He was he worked for an insurance company, specifically regarding bail bonds. And I had no knowledge of bail bonds at this time. I mean, outside of, Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Right.
So I didn't know much about it. He said, well, just come out and do a ride along with us. I said, okay, I'll go out and do a ride along. So I go out one night, and it's him and one other guy, and we go out and we go get some food at a fast food joint, and then we'll go out and sit in an apartment complex and just kind of watch for a little bit. And then I think we were out there maybe a couple hours. Not a whole lot happened. Like, all right, we're going to call tonight. I'm like, well, that was kind of a letdown. It was kind of boring. So we go back, and then he goes, well, come out another night. And so I got another night, and it's the same case. And that night we ended up like sneaking up on the house and kind of like looking through the blinds, and we ended up kicking that door in and going and grabbing somebody. I'm like, this is crazy. This is awesome. I said, you guys pay people to do this? And so long story short, I ended up working for him for about 5.5 years. I was a bail bondsman. I had a bail bond license, and I traveled the country. I was one of their pickup guys. And so if you got bonded out and you didn't do what you're supposed to do, or you didn't go to court, or whatever the case was, you violated your bail, I was the one that was going out and finding you. And so pretty much wherever you went, I went to go find you. We were based out of South Carolina, but I went to Seattle, Phoenix, wow, Houston, all over Florida, New York, Connecticut. I went everywhere. And so that was really fun. I bought my first house in 2018 just as I needed a place to live. And shortly after that, I kind of got into some real estate books. My first one, I feel like is probably similar to a lot of people. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Right. And I realized that I had way too many things that were costing me money every month that I didn't necessarily need. And so I let some of that stuff go and decided I was going to get into real estate. And I slowly started acquiring properties after that. And so I built up three rental properties there. And I wanted to do real estate in South Carolina, but I traveled, 2-3 weeks of the month. So it just didn't leave a whole lot of room for doing that kind of thing. My wife and I moved back to Indiana late 21 to be closer to family. And we were going to do bail bonds here. I actually got licensed here. And long story short, it was not a good state for bail for various reasons, but we had to make a pivot. And so I went back to my original plan of real estate, got linked up with a Tucker agent at the academy that I do jiu-jitsu at. And he was in Carmel. And so I came over to Carmel, and it's been great. Been awesome there ever since.
Yeah. It's as good a story as I thought it would be. Yeah. So because bail bonds, everybody knows dog, right?
Yeah.
That's where, and I'm sure it's like everything else we see on TV. It's not actually like that at all.
It's not.
But we all think it is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, because that's where the fun is. We actually had a producer in Columbia, South Carolina, who was friends with the original producer of Cops from back in the day. And he wanted to run a TV show. We've had several people approach us doing a TV show, and it would take so much airtime to create any type of content, because I might sit on a house for 10, 12 hours a day, and that could be a couple days, could be a couple weeks, it could be a month. And so just the amount of airtime that it would take, it would just be boring.
Yeah.
And so I think they have to fabricate those type of shows to give some more excitement, to keep people engaged.
Yeah. Give you an idea what it's like, but it's not actually what we think it is, which is true to life happening right then.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
I think you wholly missed it. Could you imagine this guy coming after you? And then he knows jujitsu too. You're a black belt, aren't you?
No. I'm fairly new. I'm a blue belt.
Oh, okay. But still, I mean, he would take somebody down quick.
I had long hair and I had a big beard and kind of fit that role. I cut my hair a couple months ago. My wife finally said, I think it's time to fully transition into the real estate role. And I had already cut off my beard, but yeah, it was definitely a look that,
well, you had to have a look.
You did.
Because that's a dangerous job.
It definitely can be. It definitely can be.
And look matters.
100%.
Just like it
Perception is
does in
reality.
real estate. Looks matters, right?
They do.
Yeah. It's the same thing. So yeah, I just think it's but you were in the Navy too, so you've had a good background of doing some interesting jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's awesome. So then you wanted to be in real estate. Now, do you still own real estate investment properties?
I do. So we had 3. I had to sell one early 22 because the bail bond thing was taking so long to get established. That we kind of ran out of money. So I sold the least performing one, and we still currently hold 2 and then our primary residence here as well.
Awesome.
So my goal is to continue to build those here as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's it's a great thing for a real estate agent to do. Because a lot of the agents were asking us, could you have a financial planner? They wanted to know more, because you know how it is for real estate agents, as you are. There's so much taxes is a big deal. How do you invest? Some people, I had one of the agents on, she said, I don't even know how to buy a stock. Well, I can tell you how to do that, but why don't we have a financial planner on? So we had a financial planner on, and he said, which I thought was brilliant. Now, he's a financial planner, gets nothing from selling real estate, right? He said, well, if they're a real estate agent, the very first thing they should do is invest in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have all the tools. So my property manager, I have a property manager down there because I wanted to own real estate. I did not want to be a property manager. That's a full-time job in itself. Yeah. And it worked out well because my real estate agent in South Carolina is also a property manager. Okay. So the person I bought them with is the person that does all the managing. She finds the tenants, she screens them. She handles all of the day-to-day. If something breaks, she comes to me and says, hey, this is how much it's going to cost. Well, I actually talked her into doing investing as well. I said, it makes no sense that you wouldn't. You have all of the tools. You have the MLS. You have the property management experience. You have access to everything. It doesn't make sense why you wouldn't. And now she's built up her portfolio to, I think she has 2 investment properties now as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So do you work a lot with people buying investment property, or do you work, like, what is your niche at this point? Or you may be so new you don't have a niche yet.
Coming into this, I thought I was going to go the investment route because that's what I enjoy. That's kind of what I understand. And I'm not by any means an expert in all of those realms because there's so many different caveats to that. But I really thought that would be the area I'd go. I haven't necessarily found that niche yet. Most of my people have either been family, friends, or first-time home buyers. What I found with investors is it's a little more cut and dry. It's a little bit more about the numbers. And so I haven't had a whole lot of good experience yet going that route. Now I do have some people that I'm, kind of working with. It's just, if you see something, let me know, that kind of thing. But as of yet, I haven't dove into that.
Well, you have the experience. You may not have worked with an investor yet that's buying, but you are an investor who's bought.
Correct.
You own rental property, so you know rental property. And I know there's a lot of investors out there, but there's also a lot of first-time investors who would like to be in real estate. And there's some huge reasons to buy real estate.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think that the easiest one that a lot of people do for their first investment property is their primary residence. So rather than selling that and using those proceeds to buy the next one, if you're able to buy the next home and it's still within your monthly price range, then keep your old property, turn that into a rental, and then buy the next one. And then a couple of years down the road, you could do the same thing. So the way I got into it was a little bit more, not as orthodox, but it was the only way that I could find that worked for me. I didn't have a whole lot of funds. And so I bought the first 2 properties VA. I lived in each of them for a year. So after 12 months, I went and bought the second property, put a tenant in the first one. Lived in the second one for a year, bought the third property after that, put a tenant in the next one. That way I got owner-occupied financing without having to spend 20-25% down, and I could put the tenants in it. Now, the math has to make sense. So it's a case-by-case scenario, but that seems to be what worked for me the best.
So you're somewhat new to Indiana because you were out and everything for a while. So what are you doing to get your name out there? I know that's probably the toughest thing for new agents.
It's definitely the toughest thing because there's so many different avenues. You can spend all the money in the world looking for people. You can do it more organic. That might be a slower way. What's worked for me is just talking to everybody. Everyone I talk to gets a business card. Everyone that I talk to knows that I do real estate, whether it's through shirts that I wear or just casual conversations, something that's kind of funny, but I always make sure if I'm talking to one person about real estate and I know other people are around, I will purposely speak a little louder because other people will overhear that. Oh, I didn't know you're a real estate agent. Because, especially now, everyone wants to know what the market's like. Hey, how's the market? Hey, because they want to hear, oh, it's terrible. It's not bad. It's they want to hear the worst. And when you respond with something other than I'm not going to tell them it's bad because it's not.
No.
And other people kind of chime in on that. They're like, oh, and they listen in and you can reach more people that way. So for me, it's just been talking. Letting everybody know what I do. And then as far as social media, I know there's a whole lot of strategies involved with social media. I don't see social media as gaining new clients. There's certainly, you can do that. I use it as a reminder because people forget what you do in a heartbeat. And so if I can remind people, hey, I'm still in real estate, they might not need me today, but tomorrow, the next week, the next year, hey, Kyle does real estate. We need an agent for this or that.
So you should get on the whole social media, do your TikTok, do some jiu-jitsu, break some boards or something. Like, this is what I do for you. I see it really working for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have him run our marketing.
Hey, we should though.
Yeah, I don't know. So I find it interesting. So you use social media to keep in front of people, which I think is one of the most important things because I agree 100%. People forget what you do. And it's very frustrating when you have a great friend that you talk to all the time and they go use a different real estate agent. And when you say something, they say, I forgot.
Or they come to you excited like, hey, guess what I did? I just bought a house. You're like, congratulations.
Yes. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
But you got to stay in front of them. You got to make sure they remember because in the excitement, sometimes they forget.
They do.
Yeah.
100%.
And they think of you, especially when you're new at it, they think of you as what you were.
Correct.
What they knew you as. They don't think of you as a real estate agent, so you got to stay in front of them. And you already have a pretty good loud voice, so when you talk even louder, you're letting everybody know in the whole area.
That's the goal.
I have a quiet voice, so I don't have that problem. But I think that's a really a brilliant thing to do and keep because you have to let people know because you wouldn't believe how many people we talk to who they'll say, well, I don't want to tell everybody. They really don't want to get themselves out there. They're afraid they're going to offend somebody, and that people want help. And like you said, right now, who is not interested in real estate?
Right.
Either they own a house and they want to know what's going on, or they want to own a house and they want to know what's going on. So everybody wants to know what you know.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think it's brilliant.
So somebody is actually wanting to know what's going on in the market. How would they even get in touch with you?
So my cell phone number is 317-315-7324. You can call, text, or my email is kyle.baker@talktotucker.com.
And you can get a hold of Ian or I at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. That is a call, no text. Or you can go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. You can look up all our information from there.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to step outside. We're going to take a little break from real estate.
Okay.
We're going to find out a little bit more about you. What do you do for fun?
Well, we've kind of already touched into it a little bit. Jiu-jitsu. I did some bodybuilding and powerlifting, non-competing, but, I took it pretty serious for a long time, 13, 14, 15 years, something like that, most of my adult life. And then I made this transition over to jiu-jitsu, partially because of the bail bonds. And I thought that, I never had an issue, but you run across somebody who knows something, and then you could have a potentially big issue. So that was fun. It was something completely foreign to me. Leave your ego at the door. I was 275 pounds at the time, and I would have guys that were 150, 140 pounds just wipe the mats with me. So it was very humbling, and it was cool to learn something brand new again. And so a lot of my time is dedicated to jiu-jitsu. If you ask my wife, it's probably a little bit too much time. But outside of that, we have my wife and I have two big dogs, and so we like to spend a lot of time with them. We just went out and took some family photos yesterday at the park, and so we like taking them on walks and hiking and stuff like that.
What kind of dogs?
They are part Great Dane. Their dad was a full-blood Great Dane, and their mom was a full-blood Belgian Malinois. So they look like big Mals.
So they're big dogs.
Yeah. So the dad was considered a small Dane. He was probably 150 pounds. And then the Mals are about 60, 65 pounds. And so our male is about 115. The female is about 95.
Okay. Little things.
Soups. Yeah.
I didn't realize how little they were.
Super, super smart. Giant lap dogs. They've been the best dogs we've ever
Awesome.
had.
So I have to ask, because I've thought about it, and we talked a little before the show that next to my kid's swimming, there's a taekwondo place, and I always thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool for my son to do. And I was like, and then every once in a while, let's be honest, we all watch Karate Kid, and we're like, hey, maybe I should do it. So was it weird going in there as an adult, going in there brand new?
It wasn't for me. So I started in South Carolina. And I feel like the only reason I got into it was because this jiu-jitsu gym was attached to a Gold's Gym that I had a membership at. And one of the walls into the academy was glass. So you could see in the class while you were working out. And I told my wife, I was like, man, I really want to go in there and try it. Because I had looked at stuff like Krav Maga before, and I went in and talked to the gym, but I was traveling so much it didn't really make sense. Well, at this stage, I was home more. And so I was really just dragging my feet because, you don't know anybody. You don't know what you're doing. You don't look stupid. And so when we were leaving the gym one day, I saw one of my coworkers who works in the insurance office. When I met him, he was in the bail office writing bail. Then he got promoted and he was in the actual corporate office. I saw him walking out. I said, hey, Patrick, I didn't know that you did jiu-jitsu. I said, how long have you been here? And he's like, oh, a couple months. He's like, you should come in and try it. And so now I knew somebody. And so I went in. I said, when are you going next? And so I went in with him and I met the professor. And he was great. He was a Brazilian. You could understand about every third word he said. But it was great. They're so welcoming. I think some people talk about martial arts being like a family, and it really is. It's like a second family. And, they will pick you up and they'll teach you everything. And it's as long as you don't have that ego and you don't go in as, the crusher and, it's great. And then when we came here, I found a gym here as well, the same environment. And it really is like a family.
I bet you if you go in as a crusher and you think you're going to do something, they take that out of you pretty quickly.
They do. They do. They could take a small female and humble you very quickly.
Yeah. My youngest son, he did 8 years of Taekwondo, and the place that he did it at, the guy was a Korean, and he had taught the Korean military, and I mean he was a tough man.
Yeah.
Right. But more than the fighting, all that, my son credits that with a lot of his success today because of the discipline and the things he had to learn with Taekwondo and with martial arts. So
absolutely.
It's a huge benefit to people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you've done it for how many years? A couple years?
So I about 2. I did like 6 months in South Carolina. I tried doing it and bodybuilding at the same time, which was it was brutal. I made maybe 1 class a week, just because I was trying to recover. My joints were always sore. I was too big. I was lifting too heavy. So in 6 months, I maybe had 30 classes. I started here in February of 22. So I'd say it's been about 2 years or so.
Okay. So you're a blue belt now,
Correct.
right? So that's what, the 3rd belt or 4th belt?
Second.
Second belt.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
So it's a long journey in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, they all are.
Yeah.
But Ian and I were talking about it earlier today, and it was like, some of the places they just kind of pass you along, and it's not. But you're at some place that actually you're learning it, and it's probably much better for you.
It's great. I picked this specific school because of my professor's lineage. He goes all the way back to the Gracies, which a lot of people know from UFC 1. He was in California and started jiu-jitsu in the early 90s. He was the first blue belt in Indiana, and there's talks of, it's pretty probable, nobody knows for sure, but it's pretty probable that he was the first person to ever have a stripe on his belt in jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Because early on, they didn't have stripes. They didn't have all the colored belts. It was just, you're a white belt if you're a student, and you're a blue belt if you're an instructor. And then they had to change that a little bit to show the progression, kind of give you, something to strive for, because you don't want to be a white belt for forever.
Right.
But I picked him because of his lineage, and it's been great. He's a retired engineer, and so the way his mind works, he really breaks things down. So you spend more time learning versus the other school was great. I learned how to survive because I was just getting beat up all the time. But, with the language barrier, it's a little bit difficult to understand. And I might spend, 15, 20, 30 minutes on a move. And by the end, I'm like, I really don't know if I got this yet. Like, all right, time to spar. Where here, there's a lot of time really spent on dissecting things, kind of like that engineer mind. It's been really good.
So where is your, I call it a dojo, but I don't know if that's what they call it.
An academy. It's here in Carmel.
Oh, okay.
So I'm at Indianapolis Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, NDBJJ, at 116th and Rangeline.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And he thanks you for the advertising.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing, and he's talking good about the school, so I thought we should at least,
Well, and it's nice because it's there's a couple different people that want to get into it. One is, the head bashers, they want to go out there and compete. And I competed 3 times last year, so you can definitely do that at this academy. But they teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is more self-defense Jiu-Jitsu. So it deals with strikes. It deals with more things that would happen like in a street fight, self-defense type scenario. And as you progress, you learn more. You can do more sport jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But a lot of people like that because it's pulled back a little bit. We don't want people coming in and getting hurt on their first or second class and then never coming back. We want them to keep coming back. So you can go as easy or as hard as you want. It's really new person friendly.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to get back to real estate, and which is hard for me. but let's. What would you say your superpower or superpowers are as it relates to real estate?
So I don't know if it's necessarily a superpower, but I feel like I'm a very outspoken person. I talk to everybody. I think I got that from my dad. I used to laugh when I was a kid because, we'd go into Walmart or, a supermarket. My dad would talk to somebody for 30, 45 minutes. And by the end, he'd be like, who is that? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, I remember the face. Well, he taught me, he coached me all coming up as a kid through sports. And so he knew a lot of parents. So he knew a lot of people, and he had his own business, but he wasn't really good with names. And so, we kind of laughed as a kid, like, oh, I can't go anywhere with my dad. He knows everybody. Well, I find that as I get older, I might not know everyone, but I talk to everybody. I might be, just last week, we're at the grocery store and I was trying to grab yogurt, and there was a little old lady in front of me, and somehow we struck up a conversation about yogurt. And my wife's like, can we just go? Can we? So no matter where I'm at, I find myself talking, and then it usually translates back into real estate just because I want to let everybody know what I do, because you never know who needs help buying or selling or who they know. And so I feel like my superpower is just talking to everybody, just being really talkative.
Now, when you talk to somebody like that, are you able to get their contact information so that you can keep in touch with them?
Sometimes I'm not overly pushy. You kind of have to read the room. You have to read their body language and stuff like that. I usually give them a card because if they're not ready now, I don't want to be over pushy and feel like I'm pulling out information. I'd rather have them reach out. But if I feel like they're engaging and they actually might have an interest for this, then yeah, we'll exchange contact information for sure.
Yeah. You give them your contact information.
I do,
at
for
the
sure.
very least, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It just seems like, I don't know, as I sit here and think about it, I think it's like, okay, well, what you'd have to do is figure out what you could say what you could do that would be interest to people that they would say, yeah, send me that. And then you have their contact information.
Exactly.
Is there some way to do that?
Exactly.
They were talking about yogurts, and he goes, "You try that brand. You give me a call. You let me know if that's good." And that's
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
So when you're out there, how are you? I know you're talking to a lot of people, but is there any words of wisdom people have given you to try to get more people, or just how to talk to people?
So the thing that stuck with me the most, and it's actually from a previous guest of yours, he's actually out of my office, is be willing to do the things that other people are not, to set yourself apart. Because, there's hundreds of, if not thousands of agents around. And everyone knows a real estate agent. Everybody knows. And if you don't know, then your parents know, or your aunt knows, or, everyone knows a real estate agent. So you got to figure out, how am I going to set myself aside from the masses? And so be willing to do things that other people are not. And maybe that's, cleaning gutters, or maybe that's driving to see this property that's an hour and a half away. Whatever the case is, find out what most agents are not willing to do and do that thing.
Yeah, that's true of life. 90% of the people aren't willing to do, in any business, it's like 90% of them aren't willing to do. That's why, or maybe even 95. That's why there's only 5% that are really successful, right?
Right.
Well, that's because they do the things that the 95% won't do.
Right.
And that's what he's saying. It's a brilliant way to go about life, not just real estate. And it sets you apart, and people appreciate it. If you clean their gutters, that's got to be, it's like you went over and above. Everybody expects you to be able to sell my house, right?
Right.
And to take care and to do it in a timely fashion, and hopefully negotiate and do those things. But when you do something above and beyond, it really cements your relationship. Because aren't you really in a relationship business, not really real estate?
Oh, 100%. It's definitely a relationship business, because they can find 100 other people who can do the same transaction as you. They might not do it as good, or they may. And so it really is a relationship business. People want to work with people that they know and trust and they like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, because what you just said is, it took me a long time to realize that I wasn't the only great loan officer. Okay.
No, there's me.
You think that you are. You think that you're, and then as you get out and about and you start meeting, you go, wow, there's a lot of really good. So most of the time, what we think sets us apart doesn't really set us apart that much. You have to come up with these other things that really do set you apart.
Yeah.
And it's really what you do more than anything else. I think that's what, to me, is the differentiator, is what do you do that separates you? What do you do that others don't?
Correct.
What do you do that the 95% don't do? And that's a big deal. So I'm sure, because of the type of person you are, that you have mentors. Who are your mentors, and what have, Ian kind of asked this, but what have you learned from the mentors that you?
Well, so the person that I previously referenced, I would consider one of my mentors. And it's just learning every day how I can be better, what I can do better. You'll run into issues because there's no way to prepare for everything. There's so much that can happen within real estate. And so learning as much as you can, trying to go above and beyond, and just trying to be the agent that you would want as an agent. I've had on both sides of the equation. I've had really good agents and I've had really bad agents. And I'm trying to learn from both of those, what I should and should not do. And so just trying to follow in those footsteps of my mentors and things of that.
What do you think sets you apart that way? So what is it, yes, it's different. So the ones that did a bad job, What did you learn from them?
It's in my opinion, it's all communication. It was poor communication, and it was difficult because we were moving from out of state, and had I not already bought several properties beforehand, I don't think that this deal would have gone through. Fortunate for my wife and I kind of knew what to expect and what to go through. But there's a lot of people who, maybe this is their first time purchase, or maybe they bought their house 30 years ago and now they're buying their second one. They're like, I don't remember how this process works. So it all comes down to communication, keeping in contact, letting them know what's going on, what they need to do, what they can expect next. It's all communication because it's a relationship business like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's a big difference because especially in my wife and I are in this stage is we bought our first home. We've only lived in this home, but now we've somewhat outgrown it. So now we're looking, trying to decide what are we going to do. But like you said, there's big differences. Now we got to worry about selling our house, or do we stay and rent? Do we do this? What do we have equity? Do we need to pull out equity of this house to put it down for the new one? There's a lot of things, like you said. Unless you've done this numerous times, things change.
Absolutely, especially nowadays in the market, because previous in a quote unquote normal market, you might have 3, 4, 5 months to decide. Now it's like you need to make up your mind before you see the house. Hey, if this is the one, is this going to be the one? We need to pull the trigger. Now that's changed a little bit in the last handful of months. Things have slowed down a little bit with the interest rates ticking up, but we don't have as much time as we did before. And that's another issue, trying to explain that to a client. I don't want to make it seem like you have to buy this house, but if this is the one and we miss out on it, I don't want you to be upset. I just want to let you know everything, the possibilities.
Right.
So I want you to give all the possibilities to every single person. So what's the best way somebody can get in contact you with, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or just talk real estate?
The best way is my cell, 317-315-7324. Call, text, or my email, kyle.baker@talktotucker.com.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. You can look up all our information there, or you can call us at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
You did a good job, sir.
I did. I got it right.
Yes, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll get into the question of the week. So I'm kind of curious on this one. What was your first car?
My first car, for the brief couple weeks I had it, was a 1989 Toyota Camry. I got all of the interior replaced. I bought this like leather kit from eBay, had it upholstered, put it all on there. It was looking good, and then the engine went out. So shortly after that,
whoa! You said Toyota.
Yeah,
those don't happen to Toyotas.
Typically not. I must have just got the one.
Guess what he drives?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan. I like them. I think it had close to 200,000 miles at the time. So it definitely lived its life. I know they can go a lot longer than that, but for whatever reason, the one I had didn't last that long. So shortly after that, I got a Toyota Sebring convertible.
Nice.
Well, they probably didn't. Somebody didn't take care of it. If I didn't change the oil regularly, something like that, because they don't break.
No,
They break,
typically
but
not.
Not very often.
Typically not.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So what'd your wife do? Is she real estate, or what's she doing?
I already told you she's a firefighter. She's in.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can answer that question. I don't know why he doesn't listen to me.
So my wife is a recruit for the Noblesville Fire Department. She's currently going through the academy. They're getting close to the end of their fire side. That'll go through the end of the year, and then they'll start EMT next year. So I think they're aiming to finish the academy around mid-March.
So you got to be honest on this question, on this answer. Who would be more willing to run into the fire, you or your wife?
Well, I would say I would do it, but I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm probably putting more people in danger. We'll leave that to her.
Okay.
You're putting yourself in danger.
Yeah,
to do that, right?
Well, you were in the Navy, so I didn't know what job and stuff, because my stepfather was in but he was a firefighter on the ships. So,
Oh, nice.
So he would easily run in there. So
Yeah, I mean, I would run in, but you might have 2 victims instead of 1.
His wife wouldn't let him run in because
Yeah.
he doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
None of us should go into a fire.
No.
I guess there could be a certain situation where you feel obligated, like your kid's in the bedroom and you got to go get them. But
Yeah, absolutely.
still, a lot of times they rescue them and you die because you went into the fire.
Yeah, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I ventilate the house and make it worse. And yeah,
Yeah.
You don't want me in there.
No, me either.
Hey, just go in there and start kicking down doors.
Yeah, well, you would. That's probably what I would do, but it would make the fire worse because you're ventilating it.
Yeah.
You actually want to close the doors.
See, he knows more than we do.
That's why I'm not a firefighter.
Me too. I listen to the stories. I'm like, man, this sounds awesome. But then you get into all the medical stuff. I'm like, which is majority of the firefighter job, especially for Noblesville, they're firefighter EMTs. And so a lot of the job is medical. I'm like, I could do the fire stuff. That sounds fun. The EMT stuff, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. So as it relates to real estate, what has been the biggest surprise to you on what you thought real estate would be and what it actually is?
I think to an extent, I realized it was kind of a counseling profession. I didn't realize how far that went because it's not just buying and selling. It's you deal with all types of issues, good and bad. It's more counseling to make sure that they're making the right decision, make sure this is the correct avenue for them. There's a lot that goes into it that I didn't necessarily realize. Like I had said, I had bought several properties, but I feel like I was pretty easy. I'm looking at properties and I said, this is the one, we'll go look at it. What do you think? Cool. This is the price. Let's buy it. That's not necessarily the case with a lot of transactions. There's a lot of hoops to jump through and a lot of different avenues to go. There's a lot of counseling involved.
Yeah. It's amazing to me because I always feel the same way that you just said. I feel like I'm pretty easy. I just go, like if I want to buy a car, I just go, I find a car, I buy it, right? And I'm sure the people I shop thought I wasn't easy, but where I bought the car, they thought it was really easy because I found the right car.
Right.
Right. And and to me, that's how I do a house too. When I find the right one, I buy the house.
Right.
But I have to find the right one. But I think it makes a difference on who you have as your real estate agent. You got to have somebody who listens. And one of the things you said, I think, is critical, and that's communication is everything.
Everything.
And if you communicate, it's not just you communicating with them, but you listening to what they have to say. We talked about that, I think, before we started, is listening matters greatly because you have to listen to what they say so that you can then help them, find the right property for them, correct?
Correct. Because the last thing you want to do is, they tell you, these are my needs and wants, and then you show them something that is not on that. Or it's something that they said, hey, well, we have to have, a finished basement. And then you show them something that's unfinished or doesn't have a basement. Well, now it's showing them like, is this guy even listening to me? These are critical. And I think what you said about listening, I think so many people just think about what they're going to reply with and they forget to listen.
Yeah.
And it's very important.
So we all starting new jobs. We all learn the hard way sometimes. So what is one lesson you think you've learned?
I'm sure there'll be many more to come. One transaction in particular, I forgot to have the as-is addendum signed. They were selling the house as is. I forgot to get it signed. We had the inspection. The inspection didn't go well. My client said, "Hey, like we're probably not interested in this property." I said, "Okay, well, with the as-is addendum, it's great because we can just back out of this. We'll just send over like, hey, we're going to send a release." Well, I sent over the release and the agent was like, well, because you didn't give us an opportunity to fix the issues, we're going to keep the earnest money. I said, whoa, you guys wanted to sell it as is. And so I didn't even think to submit like, we want all of these things fixed, knowing that they weren't going to fix them. Long story short, I had to bite the bullet. We ended up compromising. They kept half the earnest money. My clients got the other half back, and I ended up kicking in the first half because it wasn't their fault that it happened. It was my fault. And so lessons like that, I'm sure it won't be the last one, but lessons like that is, to be cautious and really analyze everything. Even if I thought I was doing the right thing, but going back and doing everything by the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just one of those things that we all make mistakes. And guess what happens? And I tell my kids this, as soon as you make a mistake, it's actually great because now if you're smart, you'll never make that mistake ever again.
I'll bet he won't make that.
No, and I talk to agents all the time, like, oh yeah, that one time I had to buy a dishwasher, I had to buy a refrigerator. There's always that type of story, and like, I won't do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. I sold new homes and I bought a dishwasher and I bought a garage door opener.
See, yep,
Yeah.
every time,
Yeah.
everyone has that story.
Yeah. Because there's a lot to do and there's a lot to learn when you're brand new. And the only people who don't make mistakes are people who don't do anything.
Correct.
And I think our society it's a problem because we all think the society says you aren't supposed to make any mistakes, which is absolutely ridiculous. We all are going to make mistakes. It's how you react to it. Like the way you reacted proves how much you care about what you do, right? You said,
Right.
I did this, I'll make it right.
Correct. And I think that goes a long ways with the clients too. Rather than me shifting the blame, like, oh, well, this agent, they didn't do this right. Because my client would have known. They don't understand the intricacies of this. But rather, I came and said, hey, look, I messed up. This is what's happening. I'm going to make it right. But this is exactly why this happened.
Right. Yeah.
And then you gain a client for life from that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they'll tell everybody else.
Exactly.
And but you have to suck it up and be willing to eat the income.
Right.
But it's the right thing to do. And that says a lot about you and your character. You did the right thing. And there's a lot of people who don't do that. That's a big deal. That's a big reason why somebody should use you for a real estate agent, because you do the right thing in a situation like that. I think that's huge. So for like, let's say a first time home buyer, what do you see as the value that they receive from buying a home over time? Not just financially, but maybe mentally and any other ways. What are the benefits of somebody receives by buying a home?
Well, so I've had a lot of people that are first-time home buyers this year, and so I've had the privilege of kind of explaining this to a lot of people. The first and most obvious is equity. You're building equity in something versus just giving it to an apartment complex or a landlord. You're creating maybe not lifelong. You're creating equity that you're keeping, and whether that's you keep it in the property, whether that's 5 years down the road you want to sell it and you want to move somewhere else, and then also your property is appreciating. So you have an asset versus a liability. That apartment complex or that condo you're renting or house you're renting is a liability because it doesn't gain you anything other than a place to live. And a lot of people need that, obviously. But if you have the ability to purchase, now you do take on some extra tasks. Now your maintenance is on you, but as long as you buy the right property and in the right place, that far and above outweighs the other things.
Right.
And so I think that equity and the appreciation, and then just a place to call your own. You're in an apartment complex and it's like, oh, well, I want to paint this wall this color. I want to make these built-in bookshelves, or I want to tile the floor. Like you're limited on what you can do. And even if the complex lets you do it, do you want to spend money on something that's not yours? So it's a place to call your own.
Yeah.
So let's take this a step further. So what does it mean? Because you've owned rental properties. Correct. So if somebody's in their first home and they're like, oh, let's possibly transition, can I rent this out? What does having a rental property, one or two, and not number wise, but what does it do for somebody?
Well, it gives you a lot of options. And so the way I view my rental properties, they don't cash flow a lot. I mean, I get a couple $100. You're not going to get rich from a couple $100. I don't view them as that. I view them as my retirement. In 30 years or less, those will be paid off. And then that income will just keep coming in because people will always need a place to rent. It's always going to be there. And along with that appreciation, the rents also go up. That's just a fact of life. But I get tax benefits for it. So there's a lot of benefits to having a rental. But for me, I view them as a long-term play because there's several different avenues you can take, as I'm sure you know. Some people, do flips and they see the money now. I'm not really interested in going that route as of yet. I would potentially like doing that in the future to fund more long-term. I'm more in the long-term play. I would like those to supplement my retirement. And so then at that point, I can do whatever I want to do versus having to go to work and do what I have to pay the bills.
One of my favorite customers, she was a real estate agent, but mostly what she did is she owned rental property. And she was probably, when I first met her, she was probably in her mid 70s. And she had like 20, 25 rental properties. She owned them all free and clear. And what impressed me most is she was still going into those houses and working on the homes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she had more flexibility because she'd always done it, and it's not only the money, she had the retirement, and it's the security that it gives you, but she gave her something to do. She loved doing it. Her family all did it together. They were really great people. I kind of lost touch with her, but just a phenomenal person. And it's interesting because when you pay off that house, I mean, if you think about what's happened in the last couple of years in the appreciation of our houses. And when we talk appreciation, I did want to clarify that so people understand. It's not only that your house increases in value, you also pay it down.
Correct.
And so that's where you're, both ways are you getting, you're building up a nest egg that way.
Absolutely.
Right. So it makes a huge difference. You think about it, if you own 15 homes free and clear when you're retired, and if they're each bringing in, $1,000 a month, that's $15,000 a month in income above and beyond your Social Security and everything else. So
right.
That's a huge deal.
Gives you a lot of freedom.
It gives you a lot of freedom.
One of the guys that I do jiu-jitsu with, he owned a big construction company, and he's since retired from that, and he owns a lot of real estate. He owns single-family duplexes. He owns self-storage. He owns some mobile home lots. And he's able to do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to go clock in and clock out. He can go to the gym. He can go to jiu-jitsu. He still is very active within his rentals. So he's in there doing the leases, doing the repairs and stuff like that. But he does it because he wants to. He doesn't do it because he has to.
Right.
And that's what I think real estate can bring you, is just the freedom.
Yeah.
So I want you to get this knowledge out to everybody. So what's the best way someone can get a hold of you if they want to talk real estate?
The best way is through my phone, 317-315-7324. Call or text.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
And a reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, let us know. We'd be more than happy to help you. I want to thank you for being on our show. It's been a pleasure having you on. And Rick will say this too. We should just do one show that we just talk about all the times you had to go kick down the doors.
Yeah, my wife wants me to write a book. I'm not very. I've tried to, and I think it would be successful. Just writing a couple, each chapter being a different story. But yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Well, if you like Chat GPT,
Yeah.
you can now do it with your voice. I don't know if you knew that, but so you can click on it. As long as you pay the paid version, I don't know about the unpaid, and then you could just say what you wanted and then have it rewrite it. You could probably write a book in no time,
That'd
and then
be great.
just edit it out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. What I'm really into Chat GPT. So.
It's crazy. If I could touch on one more topic, if we have the time. There's a new program that I'm getting involved with. I had a meeting with them last week. Went over all the intricacies of it, and I'm looking to set it up tomorrow. Have you guys ever heard of Homes for Heroes?
Yes.
So I'm getting involved with Homes for Heroes to kind of a way to give back to the heroes, and that is first responders, active and veterans, military, healthcare workers, and teachers. And this gives them kind of a thank you. When you buy or sell, you receive a portion of that proceed back in the form of a check after closing. Like I said, as a thank you, and then a portion of that also goes to a nonprofit to assist families that are in need.
Yeah, it's a great program.
I think so too.
I mean, that says a lot about you to get involved in it. It's a phenomenal program.
And I think it goes back to the doing things that other people aren't willing to do. I'm not sure how much people know of the program, but all of that fund comes directly from me. It comes from the proceeds of the commission, and it's just a way to say thank you and to give back. And so that's something I'm going to be doing here in the near future.
Yeah. And you said maybe tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep. I just set up, before I came in here, I set up the phone call for tomorrow.
Awesome.
to get that rocking and rolling. So I sat through, it was about an hour and a half last week, learning all the intricacies of it. We have a family friend that does it down in South Carolina. and her whole business is around veterans. We have a program here in Tucker that's limited to veterans, which I think is great. But I like the Homes for Heroes because you have access to veterans, first responders, teachers, and healthcare workers.
Yeah. And you can help them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it means a lot because a lot of them can then buy a house
Yeah.
where they couldn't before. And I know there was something going through Congress or Senate. I lost track of it. I don't know if it passed or not. I'll have to look that up. For that program that they were going to improve it.
Oh, awesome.
I hope it went through, but I lost track of it.
Yeah.
Had some medical issues and I lost track of it.
All right. So I'm going to do this one more time. So if somebody wants to talk to you about the program, how would they get a hold of you?
The best way to contact me is through my cell phone. It's 317-315-7324. My email is kyle.baker@talk2tucker.com.
All right. And thank you, Kyle.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Your stories were everything I thought they'd be. Thank you.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Whitman's NMLS number 6645898. Ina Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.